Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible individuals. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Kim Gradisher, the CEO of the Tyler Robinson Foundation. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be speaking with you today.
Oh, we're excited to have you as well, Kim. So let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, so I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Kim, and as you mentioned, I serve as the CEO for the Tyler Robinson Foundation, where we are dedicated to providing grants and emotional support to families that are dealing with a pediatric cancer diagnosis. Personally, I have lived in Las Vegas it has been now 21 years. I moved here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to attend school at UNLV and just kind of never left. And I get back to Wisconsin every now and then, but I certainly love the weather here. I think it's about 85 degrees, clear skies, and sunny in April. So no complaints. I am married. I have two children. I have a son who is 11 years old, and then I have a daughter who is 13. This conversation is important to me because growing up, I actually had an older sister who was in a wheelchair. She had cerebral palsy, among other things, and there weren't quite as many options for accessibility when we were growing up. Unfortunately, she has passed, but she lived to be 33 years, and the doctors only gave her a few days. So she had an incredible life, and certainly miss her, but glad to be speaking about this with y'all today.
Well, thank you, Kim, for sharing all of that with us. It's so interesting how we all have so many different, unique journeys that we take on this life, and it's
Sure do.
lots of twists and turns, lots of beautiful twists and turns, and lots of heartfelt ones as well. And
Absolutely.
tell us about the Tyler Robinson Foundation and also about Tyler's story.
Yes, absolutely. So Tyler Robinson Foundation started 10 years ago. Actually, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary on March 4th of this year. We are dedicated to providing grants and emotional support to families that are dealing with a pediatric cancer diagnosis. But the way we started is that Tyler was dealing with a pediatric cancer diagnosis himself and was a big fan of the band Imagine Dragons, who are actually our organization's founders. And they really got to know him well throughout his cancer journey. They were there with him when he went into remission, and then they were there with him when sadly his cancer actually came back and spread pretty quickly, and he had passed away. So soon after his passing, the band got together with Tyler's family and said, hey, listen, his story touched us so much. We would love to do something to honor his name and to honor his legacy. And what does that look like? The thought was to create a foundation. And there are so many great organizations that are dedicated to research, but not necessarily that immediate need that can be affiliated with the cancer diagnosis, sometimes even unspoken at times. And that's the financial and emotional burden that it can have on the patient and also their family. So fast forward 10 years, and we are now partnered with 59 hospitals across the globe in the US, Canada, Mexico, parts of Europe, actually South Africa, and the list kind of goes on. We've been able to help over 7,500 families that have a child with pediatric cancer by providing financial relief grants. Our grants are pretty high level in that we're covering things like rent or mortgage or medical related travel. The list kind of goes on. We pair up all of our families with a financial planner and make sure that they are, when their grant does end, and it's anywhere from 1 to 3 years, that they are set up for success. But in short, because of this connection that Tyler had with the band and them learning more about what a pediatric cancer diagnosis can do to an individual and also to their family, they decided to do something to really honor his legacy. I think that the Robinson family is a perfect example where Tyler was the youngest of six. And at the time, both parents were working. He got diagnosed. One parent had to leave work. Bills were piling up. So essentially our goal is to be able to kind of help add some relief to that financial and emotional burden, so that really families and siblings and the patient and the child themselves can kind of focus on what matters most, which is time together and being there for one another.
Wow. You are changing lives and saving lives, and that's a magical mission that you are on. And I want to ask, what motivated you? But I know what motivated you. This organization's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, I've been working in the nonprofit sector really my whole career, but I've been blessed to be with Tyler Robinson Foundation for 7 years now, and it's been great just to kind of continue to grow the organization and build a small team around myself and work really directly with these families. We obviously have the band affiliation, but we're still grassroots in a lot of ways, so we really get to know the families that we serve, and it's pretty rewarding work. So thank you.
And if somebody wants to donate or learn more, where might they go?
Yes, you can go to our website. It's pretty simple. It's just TRF, which stands for Tyler Robinson Foundation.org. So TRF.org, and you can learn all about us and the work that we do.
And can you tell us a memorable event, a memorable family, or anything of the sort that's kind of had a lasting impact on yourself?
There's so many, whether it's fundraising on our gala and breaking records so that we know, we've raised more than we thought. So we'll be able to help even more families. And that's such an important part about what we do. But honestly, as kind of I mentioned before, we connect so close with the families and the children that we serve that just being able to see them ring the bell, meaning that they finished their cancer treatment and are in remission, every single time, when we're blessed to be able to experience that with them, it definitely brings tears to my eyes. And those are moments, that I'll never forget. And, sadly, not all of the kids and the families that we serve get to that point. And we do help, with those needs as well. But when the kids are able to ring that bell, it's quite special.
Yeah. And what first comes to mind for you when you hear the word accessibility?
That's a good question. I think when I hear accessibility, I think of inclusivity, and ultimately just ensuring that everyone, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, has equal opportunities to access, and to really just be able to participate in all aspects of life. And, with the Tyler Robinson Foundation, a lot of our kiddos, just due to treatment, may need to utilize a wheelchair, or they may be visually impaired. They may have issues with their hearing or their motor skills. And a lot of it is, sadly, sometimes due to treatment. So it's so important to have accessibility for them and really everybody else. So everybody has a fair opportunity.
And what do you wish people knew more about with children with cancer?
That's a great question. Honestly, I would say their incredible resilience. These kids just demonstrate such remarkable strength and bravery in the face of immense challenges. They're undergoing treatments, hospital stays, numerous medical procedures, but yet at the same time, they just have such unwavering courage and a zest for life. And it's so impressive the way that these kids are just so resilient. I think it's also important to mention that, people think of it as rare, but it's really not. 1 in 285 children will receive a cancer diagnosis, a pediatric cancer diagnosis at one point in their life. And so it's quite more common than folks may think at times.
I would not have I would have thought like 1 in 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is a powerful statistic right there.
It is. And there's been, some really great strides, especially in the face of, let's say, for example, leukemia, whereas, 50 years ago, the survival rate was maybe 3%. But thanks to the good work of, a lot of different organizations, it's now, I believe it's over 90%. So there's a lot of great work being done, but there's still a lot of different rare forms of pediatric cancer that are out there as well that, unfortunately, sometimes have a different result. So. Yeah.
And if everyone could do a bit more to make the world a more inclusive and accessible place, what do you think that could be?
I think there's a lot of things that we could do to make the world a little bit more inclusive. I think that we can all come together. I think that we can have acceptance for one another. I think that sometimes judgment gets in the way, but ultimately, empathy, just putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. I think that's one thing that I've kind of was taught from the beginning. I try to instill those values within my kids too. But empathy to me is really, if we can start there, I think that that's going to point us in the right direction and get us to where we need to be. So.
No, when you're saying that, we truly do have so many more similarities amongst each other than differences. Yet
I
we
agree.
live in this like toxic Twitter world, or whatever the political landscape on one side you're on, or this and that. It's just we do have so many similarities, and
Definitely agree. I 100% agree.
if we could love each other more, if we can welcome each other more, if we can make an environment where we all can participate and have a good quality of life together, that'd be a beautiful world.
It makes all the difference. I absolutely agree.
And what do you think are some of the biggest gaps within like the business world when it comes to prioritizing access and inclusion?
I think there's been a lot of work done, maybe particularly in the last 10 years or so, but there's always so much more work that can be done. I think that, continuing to work to diversify um, and to incorporate inclusion in our leadership. I also think, obviously accessibility for all is extremely important. That's definitely another big gap. Businesses need to make sure that their products, services, etc., are really accessible to all individuals, including those with disabilities. Obviously, making sure that we have or that businesses have inclusive hiring practices is important. And even just having resource groups or advocacy groups where we don't just have these plans in place, but we are revisiting them, whether it's on a quarterly basis, annual basis. But I think that there's still definitely more work that can be done.
More work can be done, more work should be done, and must be done because it's life. Life is fragile, and every moment, every second counts. So let's do everything we can to make a difference now,
I agree.
because it's a different future when you can break down barriers, you can break down policies, you can open up more funding to certain research. Like every little bit we can invest now to do good and to make the world a better place. It can go a long way.
I
And,
agree.
I
Absolutely.
think your organization is a testament to like what can be done when the right energy is put in the right places.
Thank you.
And what do you wish most when it comes to brands and businesses, when it comes to what they could do more of regarding accessibility and inclusion?
I think there's a couple different things. I think education and training for employees is certainly an important piece to the puzzle. I think even just collaborating with organizations or experts in the place or in the field, I should say, is another important key element. If you don't have programs in place, maybe you can lean into some of these organizations that do and really learn from them. And then, ultimately, just kind of like how I mentioned before, listening to feedback from your employees or even from these other organizations. It's important. Just making sure that we're constantly evolving and adapting, when needed. So, yeah.
There's always more to learn.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
I'm going to always be a mentor the rest of my life, but I'm also always going to be a mentee. And I want to give more, I want to learn more. And the more you can learn and give at the same time, it's that growth, that evolution that you were talking about. It's like it's a really incredible direction you can go in when you open both of those doors.
I agree.
But Kim, thank you so much for being our guest on today's accessiBe's Spotlight session. You're a wonderful guest and wonderful organization. Can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the great work that you do as well. It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kim. And to our guests, thank you so much for staying to the end to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiB_community. And until next time, thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Take care, everyone. Bye.